Welcome back to another episode of The Reset with me, Sean Tucker. And this episode is all about, first of its episode, it's episode number 10. So we've hit that milestone. Yeah. This episode is all about why high performers tend to not ever feel finished or even feel fulfilled, actually. I'll go as far to say that. So if you're a high performing individual, dad, whatever, founder, one of the main reasons you probably find it hard to stop and slow down is because you're coming from a place of your mind, right? And let me explain. Dopamine works by chasing a goal, not by actually getting the goal. Dopamine completion happens when you reach your goal. This is where serotonin will then kick in, because these two hormones or neurotransmitters, they're both hormones and neurotransmitters. They work off each other, they bounce off each other, but they only work when one completes the other one. And this is relational. This is specific to what it is that you're trying to complete. Because if you're someone like myself who sometimes struggles to finish things, but doesn't struggle to start things, it actually takes a lot of energy to finish things. Because if you've been listening to the podcast in the last few episodes, there's this 35 times rule, which is it's 35 times harder to create new neural pathways than it is to default to an old neural pathway. So creating and shifting an identity, a behavior, or some part of who you are or who you want to be is 35 times more energetically expensive than to default to an old pathway, to go on autopilot, basically. This is why it feels so hard at the start when you're changing yourself, when you're trying to become someone who is better than the version you are right now. Because creating the best version of yourself takes time, energy, and a shitload of consistency and presence and really just being aware, conscious. So high performance and high performers never feel satisfied. They never really reach the point where they want to get, because it's just coming from a place of illusion. It's coming from a place of, in another way of saying it, is Maya, which means illusion in Sanskrit. That is, when you are, I'll give you an analogy or a visual representation of what that looks like. On a really hot day on the roads, maybe near the desert or somewhere where it's quite dry, you actually start seeing these like water molecules on the horizon. And if you've heard the stories of people out in the deserts where they're looking for water, where they're struggling and they might be running out of water, they might be stranded, they're looking for water, right? There's always like this game that the mind sort of plays, in that there's hope that there's water out there, and you actually start seeing it. It's not just something that your mind's tricking you on. It's actually, you do see it, right? Because when the molecules of oxygen and hydrogen, there is moisture in the air, even in the desert, right? So when you start to see these molecules sort of start moving, the water molecules in the air, it actually looks like water is on the horizon. And the reason why this is important is once you reach there, you realize that there's no water there. Right? So getting the goal actually doesn't mean anything for someone who is so dopamine driven. It's the pursuit of the goal that's actually so much more important than the attainment of the goal. But this is where it's also equally as important to bring into the conversation is your dopamine only regulates properly when you have the serotonin tick off, when you have that little completion loop happen. So the neurotransmitter can actually refresh and replenish when you've achieved what it is you say that you're going to go and get. So this is why it's even more important to be consistent, more important to, let's say, have integrity, have alignment, and have these things where life feels effortless, right? And it actually takes a lot of effort. I was going to say it doesn't take a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort to create a life that you want to live rather than the one that you have right now. Getting what you want initially takes a lot of effort and a lot of work. Even asking for what you want takes a lot of effort and a lot of work. Because once again, there's those thought pathways, those behaviors, everything is a little bit more ingrained, a little bit more embodied. So breaking this apart and literally taking the web of who you think you are, as well as who society thinks you are, and that identity that you have is a huge mess. It's a huge spider web that's just so amazing, yet so entangled. And it's that entanglement that causes the problem of you not being able to change, of you not being able to lean into the life constant of change. And I know that this episode is pretty, it can be a little bit of a big thing, right? If your brain is already hurting from listening to this episode, that's great, because it means that your brain is now able to change. When you open it up, when you have a moment where your brain literally explodes, your mind explodes, it means that you're much more receptive to change. And this is why maybe some people actually do take substances to, let's say, become more open with their minds. And I'm certainly not a condoner of, taking substances, taking drugs, whatever it is, for you to open your mind. But what I am a promoter of is to become meditative. And sometimes those things can help you become meditative. Other times, learning to move your body, even just getting into a flow state by playing basketball or playing some form of like exercise, or, taking, I guess, the piano out or the guitar, and just having some freedom and flow from the creativity and the expression that your body wants to put out into the world. For some people, that's singing. For some people, that's writing. Whatever that expression is, it's a form of meditation. And it's in those states where we transcend the limitations of our identity. We actually start exploring what it is that fulfills us. And there are so many people out there right now who are high performers that are chasing an illusion of what success is, an illusion of what they think success is. Because no one defines what success is but you. And yes, you might have a society that says this is what success looks like. But success, in its true definition, has to be subject to you. Because what does it mean otherwise? What does it mean otherwise? If it doesn't have a meaning other than what you give it, doesn't that mean that you are the creator of the meaning for success? For some people, it might be picking up the kids on time. For others, it might mean being awake at 7 a.m. and not complaining about it. There's different levels, there's different definitions but it's more important to ask, what is the feeling that I want to create? How do I want to be in the process? Because if success to you is money, cars, and very good looking people around you, and it just brings you nothing but emptiness, that is the mirage on the road where you think there's water, but there's not. And if this episode has struck something in you, I'd love for you to reach out and start a conversation. What does success mean to you? What does success look like to you? For me, it's being present with my family. For me, it's being able to have the freedom to choose what is I want to do, what is the kind of impact that I want to have and make in the world. And if that impact involves me being able to express what I see, my truth on this podcast, then I've done my job right. So if you have found value in this episode, I'd love for you to share it with one person. And also, start the conversation. What does success mean to you? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And if it's what people have told you what it is, sit a little bit longer and ask yourself, what would it mean for me to be truly successful in who I am becoming? And I look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's episode. Thanks for tuning in.